Signing your franchise quarterback, they're going to do that. Signing one of your franchise wide receivers, they're going to do that. The Bengals are making all the right moves, right? And I think part of that is we have to also address the players. You have to talk about the players. It's important when we talk about culture. When Zac Taylor first took over as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, in every single interview, it almost pissed me off. This guy kept talking about culture. In every interview, he would sit up there after every single press conference after every single loss, and he would say, and the only way Zac Taylor can say, we believe we have the right people in this building. We believe in the culture. We believe in our coaching staff. And he would say that time and time again. And I remember people used to get frustrated, like, what the hell type of culture are you talking about? Well, fast forward to, 2-3 years later, whatever, how many years he's been on the job. Bengals have appeared in the Super Bowl. The Bengals have appeared in the AFC Championship back-to-back years. And now when it's time to actually pay these players and keep the band together, we're seeing that culture that he's talking about. So I cannot talk enough about how amazing of a job not only the Bengals front office, but the Bengals coaching staff have done with setting the right foundation for what Bengals football is going to look like for generations to come. It is so important. He talked about culture so much in those losing years, and he's stuck by that. He's stuck by that. It's so important to see now it trickle down to the star players. Now, if you see that trickle down to the star players, guys, let me ask you, what do you think is going to happen when other players who aren't necessarily the elites of the elite star players come into play? What do you think they're going to do? They see the leader, Joe Burrow, letting his actions back up what he's saying. Mm-hmm. When it's time for them to get their deals, it's a trickle-down effect. It's team over me personally. It's putting the team first. So I can't talk. I when I look around the entire scope of the NFL, I don't know if there's a locker room that has better culture than the Cincinnati Bengals right now. And T. Higgins, make no mistake about it, T. Higgins probably can go out there and get a ridiculous deal. Oh, yeah. Joe Burrow could get a ridiculous deal. Jamar Chase, when his deal is going to come, I believe he's going to be the highest paid receiver of all time. Mm-hmm. When his deal comes, I really believe that. But by the point that I'm trying to make is the sacrifices that a lot of these players are making, and it starts with quarterback one, starts with Joe Burrow, the sacrifices that he's making to help put the roster in a better position, because Joe Burrow understands, hey, you know what? I'm going to get multiple contracts. Some of these guys might not. But the position that we are right now, we're not chasing M's, we're chasing championships. We're chasing championships. And that culture is so freaking important, man. It's so important. And it goes such a long way. So when we talk about it, I've gotta take my hat off, because I feel like this is all getting lost in the shuffle. I got to take my hat off to the front office. I got to take my hat off to the coaching staff. And I got to take my hat off to the players, man. When we talk about no ego, everybody working for one. Like you're literally seeing it. We've seen players do interviews time and time again where they said the culture, everybody cares about everybody. I had Drew Chrisman in here a few weeks ago. He talked about this. Everybody cares about everybody inside the building. We're seeing it right now, man. We're seeing it right now. So this is just awesome, man. I got it. For honestly being you're not getting I saw my guy Jared O'Reven, who does a great job, by the way. He runs a show called The Bengals Den on YouTube. You guys should really, really check it out. Does a fantastic job. And he also runs a show called Instagram page, Bengals Central, on Twitter. He just tweeted out, he said, with T. Higgins, you're not seeing any ego. You're not seeing him holding out. You're not seeing any of that. You're seeing the guy just put on his hard hat, right? Coming to work and just putting the work in. This could be a time where T. Higgins could fold and say, you know what? Nah, I don't care about Joe Burrow's deal. I care about my deal. But again, when we talk about the players caring about one another, the coaching staff caring about the players, the front office caring, and it's truly like a family. I don't know. That just kind of warms my heart. And I'm not trying to get all mushy here, but man, you don't see that in the National Football League. You don't usually get that in the National Football League. So when you guys make your top 10 head coaches list, right, and you put that out there, we're not just talking about strictly from X's and O's. We're talking about from a large scale. Mm-hmm. Just make sure you put Zac Taylor on that list. make sure you put Zac Taylor on that list because Zac Taylor has literally transcended Cincinnati Bengals football. And so has Joe Burrow. And that's what's going to lead into future generations. When we talk about, I remember when Zac Taylor first got here, he said the Bengal way. And I was like, man, don't steal from the Patriots. But this is what he's talking about, man.
Yeah.
This is what he's talking about. This is what it's about. About putting team first. So I just wanted to touch on that. Ed, is there anything else you want to touch on with that? No. I just think it's amazing what the Bengals are building right now, personally.
No, man. I honestly, the only thing I'd like to probably add to it is that no matter what Joe Burrow signs for within a year or two, it's going to look like a good deal, right? That's just the way quarterback contracts go. Kyler Murray signed his just a year ago. He's already down to 6th in average per year. And Josh Allen signed his mega deal that was supposedly going to hamstring the Bills on spending money in 2021, just 2 seasons ago. And he's now down to 8th in average per year, right next to Daniel Jones, which makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. But that's beside the point. Anyways, the point is that in a couple years, Joe Burrow will probably have the 7th or 6th highest cap hit, depending on how the younger class and new guys come in with deals coming up. But it's definitely going to look more palatable in even just a year. Palatable. A little easier to swallow. Yeah.
Whoa.
Logan, you got anything else?
I mean, no fancy words like Evan really always brings out, but just, I kind of want to touch on the whole Zac Taylor and the whole culture thing and the whole fit there again. I think when, he was hired, a lot of people were kind of like, caught off guard about it. And rightfully so, his resume was like, okay, maybe I can see
there was no resume.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You're like, you're kind of like, oh, he did this. Oh, okay, maybe that's good enough. And then, but like, it just goes back to, again, we don't see a lot of the things that he does extremely well. I'm sure he obviously killed the interview because he pitching all these great things. So that's just the stuff we can't see. And obviously, we all know it took him a little bit to come along as a coach. But that's expected. But they knew they were, at the end of the day, they were going to get a leader of men. And that is just as important when you're a head coach of a football team as the X's and O's sometimes, And it took Zac a little bit to kind of get the football aspect things down. And he's come a whole hell of a long way in that regard. And he's always been a great leader of men. And it's just going to continue to trickle down, like Malik said. And it just kind of all comes back to the hiring standpoint. I mean, they killed it. Obviously, nobody knew it was going to come, but they did.
Even let's talk about that for a second. Even when we think about the front office, they made the right move there.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy was the hot topic right there.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward a couple of years later, he still is without a job.
Yeah.
He's still without a job as a head coach. He's not offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. But people ridiculed the hire, saying Eric Bieniemy should have been the guy. He's the guy who used to play for the Bengals. He's a guy that has all the chops, led the number 1 offense in the league, yada, yada, yada. Why are we hiring the quarterbacks coach from the Rams, who was a failed offensive coordinator at UC and was a failed offensive coordinator with the Miami Dolphins or quarterbacks with the Miami Dolphins? Why are we doing all these things, right? Yep. And it's being able to look past that.